Hello everyone, and welcome to our newest bracket video in the Elkhart County Historical Museum Collections Bracket. So we've moved locations, as you can see. We are in our collection storage annex. We're in our small object storage room. This is a room that if you come to visit as a member of the public, you don't see. So this is kind of a behind the scenes look. And we picked this room because this is where some of these artifacts live. And we're gonna go through these artifacts in our newest bracket. So, when this video is posted, there will be a poll connected to this video. You can vote in this poll. You can also leave your vote in the comments. Everything will be counted to decide who the winner is. Also remember, we are no longer posting who is winning each matchup in each video. So what we're going to do is before each new video post on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll post a small video announcing the winner or a photo. So you'll see who wins before the next video. So that being said, let's get into our matchup. So first off, we have a collection of magazines from Middlebury's Krider Gardens. So Krider Gardens and Krider Nurseries, the company itself began in 1896. It started on a small plot land by Vernon Krider. He grew his operation to, at one point, over 500 acres. And on that 500 acres, they were producing a number of different things, from flowers, shrubs, bushes, trees, a number of different things. Where Krider Gardens kind of gains national and in some instances international notoriety was the 1933-1934 Century of Progress Exposition in Chicago. And Krider had a display known as the Diversified Gardens, where they were showing all of their products and depicting scenes from all over the world. For example, there was a garden from Japan. There was a garden from Holland and a scene complete with its own windmill, like you were straight out of Holland at that point. There are even scenes that were depicting things of fantasy. For example, the most popular garden Krider had at the exposition was a mushroom scene, which had large mushrooms and it looked like it was straight out of Alice in Wonderland. A few years after the exposition and the notoriety that Krider Gardens gained from the exposition, they got a lot of popular press and a lot of good exposure and a lot of brand new customers. So a few years after the exposition, they were sending catalogs like you see here to over 370,000 customers. Due to that volume, the Middlebury post office went from a fourth-class post office to a second-class post office, so they could handle the amount of catalogs, but also all the orders that the nursery was sending out to people. It was a strictly mail order operation, and at one point, it was the largest mail order nursery in the entire state of Indiana. Another important note of Krider Nurseries was in 1946, when they bought a patent for the thornless rose, a species of rose that had no thorns. They spent $11,000 on that patent, and it was the highest price ever paid for a patent for a species of flower. They became the largest employer in Middlebury, and some kind of popular culture notes, they provided the roses and many of the other flowers used in the wedding of Tricia Nixon, who was the daughter of President Richard Nixon when her wedding was at the White House. The company closed down in 1990, and when it closed down in Middlebury in 1990, it was the second longest continuous business in Middlebury at that time. So that's the Krider Garden catalogs, and that's going up against a drum that was used by Avery Brown. So this drum was used during the Civil War. Avery Brown himself was born in 1852 in Ohio. And he played a drum, not this one, outside of a recruitment office in the early part of the war. So he was drumming up literally attention, and so men could go and enlist. He tried to enlist himself on two separate occasions and was denied. And on the third try, he tried to enlist at Camp Chase, Ohio. He was going to be denied, but 101 men who came with him to enlist said that they would not join the Army unless Avery Brown was joined in. Now, this specific drum that he used was given to him on August 15th of 1861. This drum was captured from the Confederate Army at Burton Station, West Virginia. In August 18th of 1861, Avery Brown officially enlisted in the Union Army. Now that's important because the paperwork at the time said that Avery Brown was 12 years old, but in reality, he was 8 years, 11 months, and 13 days old. And according to records, Avery Brown was the youngest person to ever enlist in the Union Army. He served as a part of Company C in the 31st Ohio Infantry. He served from August of 1861 to January of 1863. He was discharged from the Army due to illness. He was suffering from mumps, measles, and rheumatism. So if he was part of the Ohio military, how did this get here to Elkhart County? Well, in 1866, after the war is over, his family moves from Ohio to Elkhart, and as an adult, Avery Brown works for the C.G. Kahn Company. He works as an instrument tester, and he's also part of C.G. Kahn's personal volunteer infantry band. So it was made up of a number of Civil War veterans. So this drum belonged to the youngest person ever to enlist in the Union Army. So it is a pretty good matchup. It posts a standard bearer of this town of Middlebury, its biggest business and most historic business, versus a Civil War drum used by the youngest person to ever enlist in the Army. So what's going to win? That's up to you. So cast your votes in the poll, leave your comments, we'll tabulate the votes, and we'll see who wins and who moves on to the Elite Eight. So with that being said, we'll leave you to your votes, and we'll see you next time, everyone.